Among ancient empires and lost worlds, hidden truths await. Mysterium, secrets revealed.
66 million years ago, Earth was unrecognizable. There were no cities, no roads, no human voices echoing across the land. The world breathed in silence, a silence broken only by the calls of creatures so magnificent they seem like myths to us today. This was the Cretaceous period, an age of giants, an age of power, an age when life had evolved into forms so spectacular, so perfectly adapted, that they dominated every corner of the planet. On the vast plains of what would one day become North America, herds of Triceratops moved like living fortresses. Their massive horns gleamed in the sunlight, their armored frills protecting them from predators. They grazed on ancient ferns and cycads, their footsteps shaking the earth. In the skies above, pterosaurs soared on wings that stretched wider than any bird alive today. These were not birds. They were flying reptiles, masters of the air, gliding on thermal currents with an elegance that defied their size. And in the oceans, monsters ruled the depths. Mosasaurs, massive marine reptiles with jaws powerful enough to crush bone, hunted in waters that covered much of the continents. The seas were warm, teeming with life, from tiny plankton to colossal predators. But on land, one creature stood above all others, the Tyrannosaurus rex, 2 tons of pure predatory perfection, teeth like daggers, jaws that could bite through bone, eyes that could spot movement from hundreds of meters away. This was the apex predator, the undisputed king of the Cretaceous world. It was a world in balance. Herbivores fed on the lush vegetation that covered entire continents. Carnivores hunted at dawn and dusk when the light painted the landscape in gold and crimson. Every creature had its role. Every heartbeat had meaning. Life flourished everywhere, wild, ancient, and seemingly unstoppable. But far above this thriving world, beyond the blue sky and the thin veil of atmosphere, something was moving through the darkness of space. It had been traveling for millions of years, a fragment of rock and metal, born from the violent collision of ancient celestial bodies in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, 10 kilometers wide, billions of tons of stone and iron. For eons, it had drifted through the void, silent and invisible. But gravity is patient. Gravity is inevitable, and slowly, inexorably, this wandering mountain of rock had been pulled into a new trajectory, a trajectory that would intersect with Earth. As it approached, it accelerated. The sun's gravity, then Earth's gravity, pulled it faster and faster, 70,000 kilometers per hour, then 80,000. The cosmic speed limit was being tested. On Earth, the dinosaurs continued their daily routines, completely unaware. The Triceratops grazed, the pterosaurs hunted. The Tyrannosaurus stalked its prey through dense forests of conifers and flowering plants. The seasons changed. Rivers carved new paths through ancient rock. Volcanoes erupted, adding new land to the continents. Life adapted, evolved, and thrived. But the asteroid was coming, and nothing could stop it. Then came the last morning, the final dawn of the age of dinosaurs. It began like any other day. The sun rose over the eastern horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Birds, yes, birds, the descendants of dinosaurs themselves, began their morning songs. Insects buzzed among the flowers. Small mammals scurried through the underbrush, always alert, always cautious. In the forests, a young Tyrannosaurus stirred from sleep, hungry, always hungry. It lifted its massive head, nostrils flaring, searching for the scent of prey. On the plains, a herd of hadrosaurs, duck-billed dinosaurs, moved toward a river to drink. Their calls echoed across the landscape, a sound that had been heard on Earth for millions of years. In the shallow seas near the coast, a mosasaur broke the surface, its powerful tail propelling it through the warm water. It had just caught a large fish and was swallowing it whole. Everything seemed normal. Everything seemed eternal. But high above, the sky was beginning to change. At first, it was just a point of light, a new star appearing in the daytime sky. Some animals looked up, confused. Birds stopped singing. Insects fell silent. The light grew brighter and brighter. Within seconds, it became impossible to look at directly. The asteroid was entering Earth's atmosphere, compressing the air in front of it, heating it to temperatures hotter than the surface of the sun. A trail of fire stretched across the sky, growing wider, brighter, more terrifying with each passing moment. And then, it struck. The Yucatan Peninsula, a shallow sea near what is now Mexico. The asteroid hit the water and the bedrock beneath with a force beyond human comprehension. 100 million megatons. More energy than all the nuclear weapons on Earth today, detonated simultaneously, 1,000 times over. In the first microsecond, the ocean vaporized, simply ceased to exist. The water molecules were torn apart by the sheer force of the impact. In the first second, the Earth's crust, solid rock kilometers thick, folded like paper. It melted. It flowed like water. A crater began to form, 20 kilometers deep, spreading outward at impossible speed. In the first minute, a shockwave of superheated air and pulverized rock expanded outward at thousands of kilometers per hour. Everything in its path, every tree, every animal, every living thing was instantly incinerated, turned to ash in a fraction of a heartbeat. The Tyrannosaurus that had been hunting never knew what happened. One moment it existed. The next, it was gone. The shockwave continued, circling the entire planet. It reflected off mountains, amplified across plains, swept over oceans. The Earth rang like a bell struck by a cosmic hammer. And then came the tsunamis. Walls of water over a kilometer high, racing across the oceans at the speed of a jet aircraft. They swept over coastlines thousands of kilometers away, carrying everything before them. Rocks, trees, the bodies of countless creatures. But the horror was only beginning. The impact had been so violent that millions of tons of rock, melted, vaporized, pulverized, had been hurled into space. Some of it escaped Earth's gravity entirely, lost forever in the void. But most of it went up and then came back down. Within hours, the sky began to glow, not with sunlight, but with the light of thousands, then millions, then billions of fragments of superheated rock re-entering the atmosphere. It was a rain of fire, a global firestorm. Each fragment, no matter how small, was hot enough to ignite anything it touched. Forests burst into flame, grasslands became infernos, the air itself began to burn. Animals that had survived the initial shock wave now faced a new nightmare. There was nowhere to hide, nowhere to run. The entire planet was becoming an oven. Day and night lost all meaning. The sky glowed red, then orange, then white. Temperatures soared to over 1,000 degrees in some places. Even the rocks began to melt. The great dinosaurs, creatures that had survived for millions of years, that had adapted to ice ages and volcanic eruptions and changing climates, had no defense against this. They collapsed where they stood, suffocated by the heat, their bodies adding to the countless millions already dead. And then, after the fire, came the darkness. The impact had thrown so much dust and ash into the atmosphere that it formed a blanket around the entire planet, a blanket that blocked out the sun. At first, it was like twilight, then like night, then like a darkness deeper than any night because there were no stars. The dust was so thick, so pervasive, that it blocked out everything. Temperatures plummeted, the heat of the impact dissipated into space, and without sunlight to warm the surface, Earth began to freeze. In some places, temperatures dropped below freezing for the first time in millions of years, but the cold was not the worst of it. The worst was the silence. Photosynthesis stopped. Without sunlight, plants could not produce energy. They began to die. First the small plants, then the shrubs, then even the mighty trees that had stood for centuries. And when the plants died, the herbivores had nothing to eat. The great herds of triceratops, hadrosaurs, ankylosaurs, creatures that had roamed the earth in their millions, began to starve. They wandered through the darkness, searching for food that no longer existed. One by one, they fell. Their bodies lay where they died, unburied, unmourned. And when the herbivores died, the carnivores followed. The Tyrannosaurus rex, the apex predator, the king of the Cretaceous, was reduced to scavenging the frozen corpses of the dead. But even those ran out. The last Tyrannosaurus, we will never know where or when, took its final breath and collapsed into the ash. An entire lineage, millions of years old, ended in darkness and silence. In the oceans, the situation was no better. Without sunlight, the algae and plankton died. And without them, the entire marine food chain collapsed. The great mosasaurs, the marine reptiles that had ruled the seas, starved in waters that had become cold and lifeless. 75% of all species on Earth went extinct, not in a day, but over months and years of slow, merciless decline. But life is stubborn. Life is resilient. And in the darkest places, in the deepest burrows, in the coldest waters, something survived. Small mammals, creatures no larger than rats, had been living in the shadows of the dinosaurs for millions of years. They had learned to hide, to burrow, to survive on scraps. And now, in the darkness, those skills saved them. They hibernated through the worst of the cold. They ate seeds, roots, insects, anything they could find. And slowly, impossibly, they endured. Birds, the direct descendants of dinosaurs, also survived. Not the large ones, but the small ones. Those that could fly long distances, that could find food in the most unlikely places. In the oceans, some fish survived. Sharks, already ancient even then, continued their endless patrol of the depths. Crocodiles, tough and adaptable, waded in rivers and swamps. And insects. Insects survived almost everything. They had survived every mass extinction before this one, and they would survive this one too. Years passed, then decades. Slowly, impossibly slowly, the dust began to settle. The first rays of sunlight in years broke through the gray clouds, weak, pale, but there. And where there is light, there is hope. The first plants to return were the simplest: mosses, ferns, small flowering plants. They grew in the ash, drawing nutrients from the remains of the old world. And where plants grew, animals followed. The small mammals emerged from their burrows, blinking in the unfamiliar light. They found a world transformed, a world empty of the giants that had once ruled it. And in that emptiness, they found opportunity. Over millions of years, those small mammals evolved. They grew larger. They diversified. They filled the ecological niches left empty by the dinosaurs. Some became herbivores, grazing on the new grasslands that spread across the continents. Some became predators, hunting in packs or alone. Some took to the trees. Some took to the water. And eventually, one lineage of those mammals evolved something new, something that had never existed before on Earth: consciousness. self-awareness, the ability to look at the stars and wonder. Us. The Chicxulub impact, named for the small town in Mexico near where the crater was finally discovered in the 1990s, was not the end of life on Earth. It was a transformation, a reset, a moment when the old world died and a new world was born. Without that impact, mammals might never have had their chance. Dinosaurs might still rule the Earth, and we, humanity, might never have existed. Every time you walk on a beach, you are walking on the dust of that ancient catastrophe. Every time you look at a bird, you are looking at a living dinosaur, a survivor of that terrible day. The story of the dinosaurs is not just a story of extinction. It is a story of resilience, of survival, of life's incredible ability to adapt and endure. One day, perhaps, our own civilization will face a similar test. An asteroid, a climate catastrophe, something we cannot yet imagine. But if the dinosaurs taught us anything, it is this: life finds a way. Life adapts. Life survives. The impact that killed the dinosaurs was not the end of their story. It was the beginning of ours. And that is a legacy worth remembering.